fighter, especially since moving up to light heavyweight?
He's a really good fighter. I've knew of him for a long time. We were both world champion at the same time, down at 168, and I've always rated him a fighter. I like his personality. I think he's good for boxing, and I think stylistically we make a pretty good fight together. So it's definitely a fight that I always feel, like I said in another interview, I feel about to retire tomorrow. The one fight that I feel probably should have happened and never was the Benavidez one. Like I said, we were at 168 together. We were both massive 168, so both had the potential to move to 175. We both have now, so I think it's a fight that will happen at some point. Hopefully, it's next, and let's say he's WBC world champion now, so there's a lot more at stake.
We've talked to Liam about his future, Callum, very much in the same bracket as Josh Tate.
And those are the words of Callum Smith. Callum Smith talks about David Benavidez and the possibility of fighting David Benavidez. And he has a little short breakdown, which makes a lot of sense. They both was at 168. They're both now at 175. You did, and a lot of people really didn't ask this question because they were trying to push that Canelo fight so hard to the point it was like, well, what happens with Callum takes on David Benavidez? Is somebody like that, someone that can crack, someone with the height, someone with the reach. And I've always wanted to see that fight, and I'm glad it's actually being spoke of because it shows you that the progression of boxing is moving on instead of narratives that people get stuck on. Because it's like certain people will, the Canelo haters, why didn't you fight David Benavidez? Okay, well, yes, the question will always be a good question, right? But at some point, that question that you ask gets old. Because when you keep asking for the same thing, you pretty much should get the same answer, right? Whereas when other fights become a topic, I think they should become the topic instead of the old stuff that people keep regurgitating, right? So, saying that, I believe that Callum Smith and David Benavidez should fight. I think they should fight at 175. David Benavidez is the WBC champion. You know what I mean? He is the emailed champion now, so to speak, because of, Mauricio's uninvolvement with Bivol being Russian. So, which I think is kind of weird. But anyway, nonetheless, he would, Bivol was stripped of that title. Now it belongs and it's held by David Benavidez. David Benavidez and Callum Smith, I think, would be a very good fight. You know what I mean? And I think that fight should happen. It's a title fight, right? So I think that fight should happen, and didn't happen at 168, so it should happen at 175. Callum Smith comes to fight. He has mad respect from David Benavidez. I like the way that's already spoken of. You know what I mean? You didn't hear about politics. You didn't hear about overall problems, why the fight couldn't happen. Callum Smith talked about how the fight should happen, which I love. I love to hear things like that. I love the positivity. Speak it, believe it, receive it. Speak it, believe it, receive it. Right? So hopefully he's speaking it, you know what I mean? And he's believing it. And hopefully we can all receive it. So yeah, I like the idea of that. The WBC light heavyweight championship title between Callum Smith and David Benavidez. And if you know anything about these two fighters, which I know damn well you should, you could know these guys are coming to please. They're entertaining fighters. Him and Buatsi was one of the best fights I've seen lately, besides, of course, Eubank Jr. and Ben. So, it is what it is with that. I want to see that fight. I like the idea of that fight. You guys tell me what you think about Callum Smith in talks with David Benavidez at 175 for the WBC Light Heavyweight Championship title. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.